That was a big ramble.
I mean, the question of whether any of us deserves to be listened to is really a pertinent one. And we get that all the time. Is like, are critics still relevant? Like, who cares what critics have to say? They're elitists sitting up in their ivory towers, blah, blah, whatever. If movie criticism isn't interesting to you, if reading movie criticism isn't interesting to you, you don't have to read it. Maybe it isn't pertinent to you. If you're like Sean, you want to know as much about a movie beforehand as possible, in order to choose what you want, then movie criticism might be useful. If you don't want somebody's opinion all over your movies, then maybe you just want to look at like a Metacritic rating or a Rotten Tomatoes rating and say, this got like 8 stars. I'll go see this, but I don't want to read anything about it. I think the best film criticism teaches you something interesting about the movie after you've seen it. And you can read that like after watching the movie, and it's still of value because it shows you things in the movie that maybe you hadn't seen. Like, that's more kind of the goal to me than providing a consumer guide. But like, as far as having strong opinions, I come by it naturally. That's just my personality. But the hardest movie reviews to write are always the ones where you have like a really tepid response to a movie. If to use your example, like, if you think portobello cheese is the best cheese and you're like, all other cheese is absolutely disgusting, nobody should eat any other cheese in the world. Yeah. Like, you're going to get people who are on your side. You're going to get people who hate you, but people are going to engage with that opinion because it's strong. If you're like, right, portobello cheese is a cheese and these 40 other cheeses are cheeses too, and I guess you could eat one or something. Like, there's nothing for people to hang on to there.
Although there is probably a market for that.
Yeah. Can we start a cheese website where we just have pictures of like sandwich slices?
This is egg salad.
And every single one of them just says, this is another cheese, I guess.
This one has medium flexibility at room temperature.
Oh, we're giving it a 4.8 shine value based on like reflection of light off the extruded grease. Let me, since we're between immediate topics, like let me ask all three of you guys this: do you read film reviews? And if so, before or after the movie? And like, what do you get out of them? If you care about film criticism at all, like, why? What's the point for you?
Cheek, do you have an answer to that quickly?
I don't read film review.
I read them beforehand.
All right, I wasn't done talking, but JJ, why don't you share your opinion?
Sorry, Cheek.
I'm going to say something that might not come across as very nice, but I feel as though some people like to read film review. Could be reviewer critiques of any sort of industry, in order to validate their own opinion. I feel like people use that as a device to validate their thoughts on whatever opinion they may have.
So like we kind of were just talking about that when you're gone, but like I come out of a movie and say, I don't know, lacking in plot. And then I go and read online. It's confirmation bias. And I find a couple of reviews that say the same thing that I thought about the movie. And then bingo, bango. Well, we were kind of talking about that when you were gone. I don't know if you heard, Cheek, but like Tasha was saying that like there's a niche for every critic. So you kind of fit in somewhere. So your problem seems to be more taken up with it's like hating the Kansas City Chiefs because of their fans.
They've got a great fan base.
Okay. It's like hating Portobello fans because of the cheese.
Yeah, I do hate Portobello cheese, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. E, do you read film review at all, or what's your take on that?
I don't. I think it limits you. But I mean, my family does. Like my dad, he goes off of ratings and reviews. He'll say, you know, if it didn't get a 7, I'm not watching or something. Like he really sticks to it. And there are times where I did read film reviews and it's like, oh, I guess I'm not going to watch this or whatever. And I quickly snapped out of it because it was like limiting me, like I said. But That brings up the question to me, Tasha, is I'm curious, you know what audience you have a following for? Like, do the people that read your reviews read it and still go and see the movies, or are they very particular and like heed warnings and stuff? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing like a lot of different podcasts over the years with a lot of different sites. I came up with the AV Club. I worked for the AV Club for 13 years and was kind of part of their founding group. And then a bunch of us left the AV Club and formed a website with Pitchfork called The Dissolve that was just a film site, you know, not a generalist entertainment site, which most things are these days. And the people who engaged with The Dissolve in particular were just like very hardcore film fans, you know, the kind of people who would watch 100 or more films a year for fun, the kind of people who really enjoyed thinking and talking about film. And I don't think the particular kind of film criticism I do maybe isn't that interesting for the casual fan, for somebody who sees like 10, 15 movies a year, or who only sees movies if they have Adam Sandler in them, or who only sees movies if they're available on Netflix. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I definitely don't mean to imply that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not very engaged with sports myself. You know, everybody has their tastes and their things that they're interested in, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my audience tends to be the kind of people who want to have like long conversations about like what does this aspect of a film contribute to the storytelling? How is this director developed over time? And like what does it mean that Christopher Nolan keeps making movies about time and memory and keeps finding new ways to play with how he pieces together a narrative out of order? Like which of the movies where he does that, which are most of them, does it most effectively, and why? Like people who enjoy having that kind of conversation are more or less the kind of people that read the stuff that I write.